Hi everyone, I'm Katie, author of the Outsider Chronicles, and today, finally, I'm reviewing a print book. Woo, woo, woo. Nothing against ebooks or anything like that, but I haven't read print books since September, so I was kind of missing, reading the pages and stuff. But anyway, so this book that I'm reviewing is called Melabeth the Vampire by E.B. Hood. I guess I would call it YA. Actually, I don't think I've ever said this before, but I like vampire books, right? But I usually actually have a knack for avoiding books with vampires in the title because I don't really usually like them when they have vampires. I don't know, it's just me. But I did like Interview with the Vampire, and I like this. So, these books are breaking the vampire in the title curse. So, woo! So this is book, it's basically kind of like a revenge story, but let me read the blurb at the back. Melanie Dare is a teenage girl. Drugs and abuse by her parents change all that. She is raped and murdered and finds herself awake in a new decade. Melanie becomes Melabeth the Vampire, and she starts into events outside of her control. Meeting a small circle of friends, not all who can be trusted, she finds herself obsessed with revenge against her killers, but along the way finds love. Her battle for revenge has terrible unintended consequences, and she will question who and what she is. Can her love survive her need for revenge? This is the first part in a 3-part series about forgiveness. Right, so it is primarily a revenge book, but it's not like heavy on the revenge matter because some bad stuff happened to her, and so of course you want to be revenge for those bad guys and everything like that. It's set in 1990 exact. What happened was she becomes a vampire in 1975, but she's supposed to be waking up a week later, but instead it winds up being 15 years, so she winds up being a vampire in the 90s with the 1975 mindset. So since 15 years a lot has happened in time, Star Wars, computers, all that stuff, right? So it has a little learning curve where she learns all these new things and digital. So it was fun. Yeah, so the book had kind of like 80s feel. Maybe think of like Rambo or The Lost Boys or something like that, or maybe who's the director of this thing? So Melabeth, she's the main character. She's 15, and so at first she's alone in the beginning, and then having to find out who she was. I really like the vampire lore in the book, by the way. Once she meets other vampires and finds out more about herself, but that's later on in the book. Yeah, so when she first becomes a vampire, she's trying to figure out herself, her powers, can she fly, can she not, all that. And she meets a ghost named Carrie, and she also meets a boy who later we find out is a necromancer named David. So this is urban fantasy more in like the Laura K. Hamilton range, where there's like all kinds of paranormal creatures, though I haven't seen a werewolf yet. So we see in Melabeth, we see witches, necromancer, wait, there was a werewolf. There was. Well, but they're all controlled by this thing called the Order, which is supposed to be a good thing to keep, paranormal people hidden from the rest of society, so that humans don't try to kill them, because we're notorious at killing things we're afraid of. But anyway, so but the Order is not as good as people might think, and then you find out just how bad they are as the book progresses. So I like that aspect of the book. I like David, but we don't really get to know much about him. He's the Melabeth's love interest, but we don't really know a lot about him because about halfway through the book she has to go see the vampires, and the vampires don't really like necromancers, so yeah. But she has to learn more about herself, and then the vampire family, they're kind of like homicidal Addams family. Yeah. There's Alice, there's Ezra. Well, Alice is not like Alice in Twilight. I made that mistake. Alice, Ezra, Charlotte, or was it Caroline? I'm pretty sure Charlotte. Leah and Michael. Yeah. So, you get to learn a lot about Alice, because a little bit about Ezra, a little more about Michael, because he is around Melabeth's age, and they have to pretend to be brother and sister so they can go to school, so they can get the people that hurt Melabeth, because you'll find out why in reading the story. Yeah, so, and since, you know, of course it's a vampire novel, the vampire lore itself, it could be either, you know, very Dracula-like, or it can go into new sci-fi realm. It takes from Dracula, but it adds new spins to it, and like, the vampires, they can walk out in the daytime, but it's not ideal. It's not like they have to slather themselves in sunblock or anything like that, but if they get cut, that's it for them. So their blood is very flammable in, I guess, getting in contact with sunlight. So, and, you know, of course, flame and stuff like that hurt them. And then they have some interesting twists with garlic and stuff, and crosses and stuff like that. So I like what he did with the vampire lore, and kept it fresh, but, you know, kept it traditional and stuff like that. I would categorize it as YA, but like, as long as you get past the first chapter, it's pretty much YA. But Melabeth, she kind of flips back and forth, because sometimes in the beginning she's very like kiddish, but as the story progresses, sometimes she like flips back and forth between very kiddish, very adult, very naive, very knowing. So she's not exactly consistent, but then considering how she grew up, how she got become a vampire, and then being from the past and being plopped into the future, you can, like, you know, let that go. But I did notice that a lot, that she kind of flips a bit, but it's not really anything that kind of like aggravates you. But yeah, yeah, so I would categorize it YA, more like older YA, because it deals with some heavy stuff, but I would have read it as like 16 or something like that, so it's not bad. I love the cover. Whatchamacallit, I like the Grim Reaper in the bag, and the graveyard, and, you know, her intense stare and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. Well, if you like vampire novels, if you like, you know, upper YA stuff, or like, you know, kind of like 80 pulp film kind of thing, you should definitely check it out and you'll enjoy it. And be sure to check out my books, Niko, Harmon, Outsider, book 1, 2, and 3, The Outsider Chronicles. Links to all that down below.